What did you say? What page?
87.
87. Bum 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 bim bum bum. Dee da 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 da. Dee da 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 da. We were actually going to start on the bottom of 86. I don't remember that last piece, Michal, so. But cont'd Yichud. Okay. So, these are teachings that Reb Shlomo gave at weddings. So, he's telling the Chosin and the Kala Moshe and Rachel, Litchaten ze davar מאוד אישי. Getting married is something very personal. ובכל זאת מזמינים את כל העולם, and nevertheless you invite everybody to your wedding. ואז בא חדר ייחוד שאליו אתם הולכים לבד, but then you, after the chuppah, you go to the חדר ייחוד, the room of being together, that you go there alone. לבד עם בורא עולם, but alone together with the creator of the world. Right, the Gemara talks about there are three partners in the creation of every person: Father, Mother, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Father provides the body, or certain parts of the body are coming from the Father, certain parts from the Mother, but the neshama is coming from Hashem. Right, so there's three creators, three partners in your creation. So to be alone with husband and wife doesn't mean it's a right. The idea is to be together with the creator of the world. So Reb Shlomo says, we're blessing you, giving you a blessing to know when to be with the world and when to be alone and shut the door. Right? Somebody was telling me that one of the father didn't know how to shut the door, and anybody can come whenever they wanted, and the mother had to say, "That's it, time to close the door now." You got to know when to open the door, when to shut the door. There's a story about, I don't remember which Rebbe it was, but some Chassid went to his Rebbe because he was having trouble, controlling his impulses. Anyway, he arrived. He traveled to his Rebbe, and he arrived in the evening, and he's knocking on the door, and the Rebbe didn't open the door until the morning. he says, Rebbe, you knew I was out here. Why didn't you open the door? So he says, I wanted you to learn that there's times that you don't open the door. In other words, just not everybody who knocks on your door, you have to let in all the time. Okay? So Reb Shlomo is telling the Chosin and Kali, you should know when to be with people and when to shut the door. Now, Kishitiyu Levad, Tedu Tamid, when you're going to be alone together, you should always know, Sheborei Olam Bitchem Ba'omik HaOmakim. You should know that the Creator of the world is with you in the deepest of ways. What does that mean? Well, the true ability to be together. In other words, the word yichud means unification, right? You can be together with somebody, but it doesn't mean that you're united. It doesn't mean that you're one. It doesn't mean that there's a unity, right? The whole koyach of unity is really is really a gift of the Creator. Understand? In other words, it's only when you're really with Hashem that you can really be together with another person. But like we were learning yesterday in Pirkei Avot also, on the Parsha, it's only when you really know how to be with one another, then you also know how to be with Hashem. Right? If you think that I'm with Hashem, but I'm not, but you go off somewhere and just to be with God and you're cutting out people, you're not really with God either. So it's an amazing concept. It's an amazing concept that the gateway to Ahavas Hashem is Ahavas Yisrael. So then he says this. He says, I want you to know also, V'hu yitbarach shemo yiten lachem sodot amukim. And when you're really together, when you really achieve real unity, God will teach you very deep secrets. And he quotes the pasuk, "V'yiten lecho Elokim mital hashamayim u'mishmanei haaretz v'rov dagan v'tzirosh." God will give you of the dew of the heaven and the fats of the earth and much grain and olives. So what is it in this pasuk? What's in this pasuk? So mital hashamayim is an allusion to the secrets, right? The heavenly secrets. In other words, being together means that so husband and wife are together and Baruch Hashem, they have a child, right? So that's earthly, right? But real together is such that when you're really together with one another, then Hashem also reveals deep secrets to you. Okay? This is like we've learned in the past, Michal, that when Hillel says to the convert and he says that which is hateful to you, don't do to others. That's the whole Torah. The rest is commentary, right? So there were a lot of explanations that we learned about that statement, and one of them is that you cannot know the Torah fully unless you have true Ahavat Yisrael, because every neshama owns a letter of the Torah. So you could know it intellectually. I know how to read. I learned Aleph Beis. I know how to read. I could read all the words of the Torah. And if there's something I don't know how to translate, I can take a translation, right? So I know it, right? But that's only intellectual knowledge. The Torah is much more than just intellectual knowledge. To really know the depth of everything in the Torah, you have to be connected with every neshama that's really of Am Yisrael. And then you can then it opens up gateways to things that are not there on the superficial, on the surface. Okay. Even in relation to secular knowledge, how many people are presently doing research, let's say cancer research? There should be matzliach, okay? How many people are involved? Thousands, right? We're talking about huge megabucks that are devoted to this across the world, and if you calculate like over the last 40, 50 years, how many people have been involved in this, and how many people and how much money has gone into it. It's a huge amount. Hopefully someday soon somebody's going to say, I figured it out, right? Now is that person who's going to find the cure, is he necessarily smarter than all the others who haven't found it? No. He might even be somebody mediocre. There's an Indian of Mazel over here, right? For some reason or other, Hashem decided, I'm going to let this person know the secret. He's going to be the one to discover it, right? And so you see, even in the physical world, it's obvious that just because you've got the brains, it doesn't mean that you're going to be the one to figure everything out, right? I remember once this businessman told me, in his factory or whatever, when you got to figure out how to find a better way to do something, more effective way, assign the laziest person. Give it to the laziest person. There's one, because he's going to figure out how to do it with the least amount of effort. On the other hand, if you really need something done, give it to the busiest person. Interesting. The busiest person will also is motivated to get it done. Anyway, so it's like at the end of the Shemoneh Esrei, we have this paragraph, the kind of sort of Shoni Meira, right? After Hamavorach Chazam Yisrael Basholem. And one of the phrases there is, P'tach libi b'tovatecha, open my heart in your Torah, right? In other words, that it's not just a function of how smart you are. Hashem needs to open you up to really getting it in depth. The Gemara says, why was the Beis Hamikdash destroyed? Because they didn't make a bracha before learning Torah. So, what, you think the rabbis back then didn't make a bracha when they were learning Torah? What bracha was missing? So Baal Shem Tov said, the bracha v'harev no Hashem Elokeinu. Hashem, make the words of the Torah sweet. The words of the Torah have to be sweet, right? We have a Kohen over here. The second, the first bracha is Yivarechu Hashem v'Yishmerecha, right? And the next bracha is Ya'ir Hashem panav alecha v'chuneka. God should enlighten your eyes in the study of Torah, v'chuneka, and He should bless you that it should be beautiful. It should have chen. It should be beautiful, right? Why is it sometimes you hear somebody giving a brilliant lesson in Torah, but you have no interest in going to hear that person anymore, because it wasn't sweet. It was brilliant, but it doesn't touch you in a deep way, right? Reb Shlomo, whenever very often he would go to visit army bases over here. So he comes to this big army base, and the rabbi of the base comes out to him, Shalom Aleichem, and he says, I want you to know that the kitchen over here is perfectly kosher. You could eat. Shlomo asked him, how are you doing? What's going on? So he says, I want you to know the kitchen is perfectly kosher. You could eat whatever you want. Shlomo says, I didn't come to eat your hot dogs. I didn't come to find out if I could eat from your kitchen. I want to know, are you learning Torah with the soldiers? So he says, are you kidding? These guys, they're totally not religious. They don't want to hear nothing. Shlomo says, really? You really think they don't want to know any Torah? He says, yeah. Shlomo says, do you have any money with you? You want to make a bet? So he had a couple of 100 shekels in his pocket. He says, yeah, I'll bet you. So Shlomo says, okay, it's a bet. There's a group of soldiers standing around smoking some cigarettes. Shlomo goes over to them. He says, Chaver, would you like to learn the sweetest Torah for 5 minutes? They said, yeah. And he started learning with them. And the officer had to come and drag them away a half an hour later. He had to drag them away. They wanted to hear more, and they wanted to hear more, they wanted to hear more. Understand? So if you want to share some Torah with somebody, know that it has to be sweet, right? Even if you're learning by yourself, or you're learning in whatever it is, like it's very important, like before we begin learning, to say, let this be sweet. Let it be sweet. So, right, the another insight possibly into this last verse. God shall give you from the dew of the heaven, and from the fats of the earth, and much grain and olive. I'm sorry, tirash is actually grapes. Is that, in other words, when you're receiving from the dew of the heavens, when you're learning the secrets of the Torah, when you're learning the depths of the Torah, it has to have some kind of, it has to have it has to manifest in Gashmias also. It should manifest in some kind of physical way. It should make a difference in this world as well. Okay, page 87. To unite, to be one with the Torah. The Gemara says, Mital HaShamayim, from the dew of the heaven, Elu HaMishnayot HaKtubat. This is an allusion to the written Mishnah. Mishmanei HaAretz, the fat of the earth, Elu HaBraitot, HaMishnayot Sheinam Ktubat. Braita is also from the Tanoim, right? And but those were not written into the collection of Mishnah. So he says like this, Moshe, Anachnu mevarchim otcha shekol milah shel haTorah kedusha ta'ir belibcha. We're blessing you that every word of Torah should be shining and illuminating in your heart. V'chol milah b'Torah tiyeh mashma'ut b'shvilcha. What does that mean? It means that every word of the Torah should have meaning to you. It should be meaningful to you. Kol milah b'Torah titen lecha chayim asher tuchal lahavir hala la'yeledim shelcha. Every word of Torah should give you such life energy that you should be able to transfer it, teach it to your children. You know, Mr. Shem, for those of you who have children, you already know, and for those of you who don't have yet, you should know this. Kids are very, very real. And when you and if you're learning Torah with them, and you're learning Torah like on the level of like, wow, this is my life, the kids are going to listen. But if you're learning, hey kids, come here, I got something to teach you, I want to teach you, right? And it's not lively, it's not alive, it's not part of your life, the kids don't want to hear it. They're very real, understand? So it has to be mamish, real living Torah. And so he says, Rabbi Mishbitzer of Meir, it's so sad if you open up a sefer and you feel strange from it. And it's so beautiful when you open up a sefer and you feel like, wow, you're at home, right? I'm blessing you and all the chevra that we should feel at home with all the holy books. That all the holy books should feel at home with us. I think we read it earlier in this book or in another one of this forum, that the Ishbitzer, Reb Shlomo related that the Ishbitzer used to give a Gemara class every night from 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. And the Gabbai would come in, with 2 candlesticks and put them on the table, and we put the Gemara down for the Rebbe, and he said that the shiurim were so deep that most people, it didn't last more than a month. It was like, to attend those classes. And he says the most amazing thing was, not more than the shiur, was to see how the Rebbe kissed the Gemara before he opened it and when he closed it. Right? We have this custom to give it to kiss the Sefer. There's a story that Reb Shlomo was giving, was invited to Hakafat Shniyot. I think it was in Be'er Sheva years ago. And the mayor of the city came over to him. He was there, and he said, I want you to know that I'm not religious. I'm here only because I'm the mayor. So since the city is hosting this event, I'm participating in this Hakafot Shniyot. And being that he was the mayor, he was honored with the first Hakafot. Later in the evening, he came over to Shlomo. He says, I'm a professor of literature, and I take back what I said about not being religious. Shlomo said, why? So he said, because as I was walking around with the Torah, and the old women and the children were kissing the Sefer Torah, I realized that if I would have been walking around with Shakespeare, nobody would have been kissing the book. But when I saw how people are kissing the Torah, I realized that's a whole different thing. Right? So he says, the Rabbi once the Pshischa Rabbi went into his Rabbi, who was known as the Yehudi HaKadosh, the Holy Yid, and he was crying. Shalom Rabo, says Rabbi asked him, why are you crying? So the student answered him, the Pshischa answered him, Mishu Livoti, somebody embarrassed me. So how did you respond? Nishakti oto, I kissed him. מה שקרה הוא שהוצאתי ספר קדוש ולמדתי בו שאדם צריך להיות קדוש. ושמתי לב כמה אני רחוק מכל זה, סגרתי את הספר ונשקתי אותו. He says, what happened is I kissed this man who embarrassed me. And how did that happen? Because I took out a holy book and I was learning that a person has to be holy. And I realized how far I am from being holy. So I closed the book and I went over and I kissed this person. So Reb Shlomo says, Yehi ratzon she'asfarim ha'kedoshim lo ya'alivu etchem. May it be Hashem's will that the holy books won't embarrass you. Ela yaniku lachem koach, but rather they should give you energy. Bless you. She'asfarim ha'kedoshim ya'iru lachem kama atem achem kedoshim. And I bless you also that the holy books should enlighten you and make you realize how holy you are. And he says, I bless you, she'asfarim ha'kedoshim ya'iru lachem kama kedoshim ha'yiladim shelachem, that the holy books should enlighten you to realize how holy your children are. Right? In other words, and this is pretty heavy, you're learning Torah, and somebody's passing by, and you look up, and you don't have any appreciation of how holy they are. It means that there's a level of learning that you're not connecting with yet. Right? So it doesn't mean that you should close the book. It just means go back and learn it again on a deeper level. Okay, or clean out your vessels so that you could receive that light. Rabbi Nachman, so 1 second, before we get to Rabbi Nachman, so we're now, today is, how much did we count last night? 40, right? So it was 10 days from Shavuot. You know the story about the Baal Tshuva comes home at night and he asks his wife, it was during Sfirat HaOmer, he says, so what are we eating tonight? So she says, last night we had chicken soup. When somebody asks you at night, how much do we count tonight? You're not supposed to say yet how much we count. You say, last night we counted so much. Anyway, So I wanted to tell you a couple of things. So it's Shavuos, right? So you know that in Shmot, in Perek Yutet, chapter 19, where the Torah speaks about, it's the chapter before getting the Ten Commandments. So it says that we came to Har Sinai, and the way the language in the verse over there, Vayichan Shem Yisrael Neged Ha'ar. So we learn from there that we were Ki'ish Echad B'Lev Echad. We were like one person with one heart, and that was for Chodesh Sivan, which is going to be this Friday, right? And so what I'm trying to do is I want to connect it with what we were just learning. The way we do weddings is modeled after what happened at Har Sinai, because the whole giving of the Torah, the whole Matan Torah, is portrayed as a wedding between Hashem and Am Yisrael. The Torah itself is the Ksubah, okay? And the way we came to the mountain, and Hashem coming down to Har Sinai, is all portrayed, and the whole Shir Hashirim is really the love song about Matan Torah. Okay, so what Reb Shlomo is saying over here in different words, so he's talking about that when when we're learning Torah, it's a matter of yichud. Right? Yichud is two becoming one. Once he put it like this, he said, what's the difference between math on Shabbos, arithmetic on Shabbos, and arithmetic during the week? So during the week, 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. On Shabbos, 1 plus 1 is equal to 1. Right? Could be equal to 3, could be equal to 4, but not 2. Like 2 is already division. Understand? So the point is that when we're learning, it has to be on a level of yichud, of unification. Unification with the Torah, which also means unification with one another. You guys forgive me for giving the plastic cups today. It's just that, there's not a lot more things to handle, so I felt like, that I wasn't going to wash as many dishes as last night, so. Anyway. So, since you're pouring, maybe pour one for me too, okay? Thank you. Thank you. Those of you, some of you are familiar at Shalashudis, we sing B'nai Hechala, right? And one of the words is, Chadu Hashta. Chadu Hashta. What does that mean? Chadu Hashta. It's Aramaic, okay? So it means two things. One means rejoice, okay? And the other one is that it means unite. Okay. Hashta means now, but chadu, ches daleko. Now, in one of the parshas in Devarim, it speaks about when we had to go to war. So before going out to war, so the Kohanim would get up and make certain announcements, and saying, if you just bought a house and you haven't, or you just built a house and you haven't moved into it yet, or a vineyard and you haven't finished the work, and so then you're excused from going to the army, and you go home and take care of what you need to take care of, right? Now, who else is who else is what do you call it when somebody's patur from the army? Exempt. Who else is exempt from army service? Somebody who just got married, the Shana Rishona, the first year, you're exempt from army service, right? And what does it say? It says so that he should be free to be at home, v'simach et ishto. The obligation of the husband, particularly in the first year, is to be available to make his wife happy. Right? And the Targum Onkelos and the Simach is v'yachdei, to be one with her. Okay? In other words, to be one, the real joy comes from being truly together. Right? And the bookmark that we have for the yeshiva, what does it say? You have the bookmark there? No, the yeshiva's bookmark.
This is not the
No, the yeshiva's bookmark. Remember it? Do you have it there? See it? I don't think that's there. But if you're not, say it again?
One is got, you're not really sharp on or...
No, if you're not full of joy, you're not really one with God. If you're not full of joy, you're not really one with God. It can't be that you're one with God and you're not b'simcha.
You one with other people?
The same thing. If you're not really one with another person, you're not really b'simcha. You understand? So it's a whole. You understand? And we've learned this in the past that the whole idea of simcha is not. It's not about having a good time. It's a whole different level of joy. Right? Having a good time, you buy a ticket to the show. Okay? But that doesn't last. Right? Real simcha is coming from true unity. Because Hashem is the source of simcha. So Rabbi Nachman Omer, bottom of 87, Rabbi Nachman Omer, שכל אחד צריך בביתו פינה אחת שבה הוא יוכל להיות לבד. פינה יקרה קדושה ויפה. Everybody needs to have a corner in his course where he can be alone. A holy, precious corner, right? In other words, Rabbi Nachman was teaching about התבודדות, page 988. כשתעברו על יד הפינה הזאת, and when you go and spend time in this corner, הפינה הזאת תגלה לכם את עומק לבבכם. הפינה הזאת תעניק לכם כוח. You have to have this sort of special place in your home so that in that place you get in touch with the depth of your heart. In that place you get energized. בכל פעם שתגיעו לפינה הקטנה בלב, every time that you touch this little corner of your heart, ולא תדעו אם לפנות ימינה או שמאלה, and you don't know if you should go to the right or to the left, יראה לכם בורא עולם את הדרך על ידי הפינה הזאת. So if you have this special corner in your heart, God will show you in that corner which way to go. So he's talking about hitbodedut, he's talking about the whole process of spending time being alone with God, right? And so I actually read, this chassid was the moil for my son Netzach. So I read that every night he would, kriyat shema al mitah. This the saying of the Shema before going to sleep is very, very important. And so this man actually had a chair that every night he would say kriyat shema sitting in that chair. You understand? In other words, the idea is that if you do things just on the fly, just anywhere, it's not as it's not as effective. But if you get yourself a space where this is every night or whenever, this is the space that I go into. It's like this is where I do these meditations, right? It's very helpful. That's why in shul, there's a whole thing about makom kavua, to have your regular seat in shul, so that because that way you have less distractions every time you come in. Like you know that, oh, you're going into this space. This is what I do here. Here I daven. You know, you have a place in your house that you should know that you got. Like find you make yourself. It could be a chair. It doesn't have to be like it could be just like a regular place. Like this is this has this is designated to concentrate on particular things. And so what Reb Shlomo is saying is that when you achieve that, when you have that, so then when you need to make a decision about something, go back into that space, right? In other words, when you're making decisions about should I go this way, should I go that way, so try to go into that space where you feel most connected, and there Hashem will show you which way to go. Okay. ואני מברך אתכם, and I also bless you, says Reb Shlomo, שבכל פעם שתגיע לאיזה פינה, and he's blessing the Chassan and the Kali, he says, whenever you come to some corner, תחזיקו ידיים יחד, hold each other's hands. ובין שניכם תדעו ללכת. And so you're walking in the street and you come to a corner, you don't know to go to the right or to the left, hold each other's hands, and you'll know where to go. It doesn't mean who's going to schlep harder, but it means that just it's like there's a certain wisdom which is given to us by being together, right? Yehi ratzon shetamid tistovevu yachad. I bless you that may it be God's will that you should always be walking together. Tamid tamdu yachad. You should always be standing together. Shetamid ha'iladim shelachem yehu b'yachad litchem. And I'm blessing you also, and this is an awesome blessing. We should all be blessed with it, that our children should be with us. כעת העדים הקדושים צריכים ללוות את משה ורחל לחדר ייחוד, שבורא עולם ייתן לכם את הייחוד העליון ביותר. And now has come the time that the witnesses have to accompany the Chosn and the Kale to the Cheder Yichud, to the room where they're going to be alone with each other, and that bless you that the Creator of the world should give you the highest unity possible. Okay, it's a lot. Should we say this last page and a half that we just it's nice to learn it in a matter of 30-40 minutes, right? But the mitzvah is to live it and to practice it. It's like you can take this one page and spend your lifetime working on it, right? That's the way it is.
Does it mean, actually, what it says that when you are uncertain, you would hold a good friend? Is that what it means?
What it means is that in uniting with another person, the fact that you're uniting with somebody will bring you the blessing that Hashem will enlighten you to, that you'll know what to do.
Whose hand is it in?
Well, here he's talking to a Chassan and the Kale. But Bichlal, what it basically means is you end up davening, right? והיה השם למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה השם אחד ושמו אחד, right? And my friend Ronnie Fine, who has, I really have a lot of respect and hakarat hatov for him. He opened up a Chabad house in Montreal for the simple Yidden who work in factories, like nobody fancy, nobody nothing, and And when they finish davening Shabbos morning, so by Elenu, they all come together and they stand on the bima and they, like, make this big hug all together. And then when they go, Echad, and the Echad lasts like a good 15, 20, 30 seconds sometimes. So they I don't know where they get all that breath. I guess they don't smoke. Okay. So what's so beautiful about that? Because what's beautiful about that is that Echad, yeah, God is one. And what about us? Are we part of that one? Right? So by us being one with each other, so we connect with the oneness of Hashem. And that opens the gate to receive what you need to know.
That's why I was thinking, when we say in Shema, it should be more unity when we say it.
Well, of course there should be, but so the thing is that, and like you're learning Shar Yichud B'Emunah, right? So the Zohar says that Shema Yisrael is Yichud Ha'ila'ah, supernal unification, and Baruch Shem Kvod Malchut L'Olam Va'ed is Yichud Ha'Tata'ah, is unification from this worldly perspective, right? So when you say Shema, you shut your eyes, right? So in other words, to sort of go to that higher space of Yichud Ha'ila'ah, you sort of got to shut your eyes, right? But then when you say Baruch Shem Kvod Malchut L'Olam Va'ed, you have to open your eyes and see the one in this world, right? To see the unity in this world. And yes, what you're saying, Ephraim Mordechai, is true. That is that before saying Shema, you've got to have that sense of unity, right? Now the truth of the matter is, if we look in the Siddur, the Nusach HaRisiddur is brought that before davening, that's what you have to do right before davening, even before Matoivu, Nachon Lomar Kodem HaTfilah, right? Hareini Mikabel Olai Mitzvat HaSeshel V'Yehavta L'Reacha Kamecha. So everybody knows how to make cheese blintzes? You know how to make cheese blintzes? Shavuos is coming. You know how to buy them. What?
No, eat them more than anything.
Shavuos is coming. You gotta have cheese blintzes. You can you go on YouTube. You can say cheese blintzes tutorial. You can learn how to cook everything on YouTube. It's pretty amazing. I read the story once about Rav Kamenetsky. He was the Rosh Hashiva in Torah V'das. So Shavuos morning, we're still learning, don't worry. Shavuos morning, he invited some of the students to come and make kiddush at his house and have something to eat after davening. And he had just gotten married, but he had been a widower, and he'd gotten married again. And his new wife very happily brought out a plate of cheese blintzes. And she went back into the kitchen. So quickly, he had these 3 students with him. He did Hatarat Nidarim. He had an older vow, and then he ate the cheese blintzes. And they asked him, what was this about? So he said that he had, years earlier, he had taken on a vow not to eat cheese blintzes or cheese, I don't know, whatever. I've heard about such things, like, for example, Reb Shlomo, Reb Shlomo, who was the chief rabbi of Montreal. He Nebuch, one of his children, had died as an infant, and he took on this vow that he would never eat fish or whatever. It was like, without going into what the cheshbon is, sometimes people do something like that when something, when something happens, it's not pleasant. They'll take on a vow to sort of help them with their avodat Hashem. It's not something that I'm not recommending it for anybody. I'm just saying that there are people who do that. Okay, so this Rav Kamenetsky, for some reason or other, he had taken this vow that he wouldn't be eating a certain food, and his new wife didn't know about it, and she made these cheese blinters for Shavuos. So instead of telling her, "I'm sorry, I can't eat it because I took on this vow," right? He quickly did hatarat netarim. He had his vow annulled. So because he knew that even though she would accept his reason for not eating them, she still much wanted. She put her heart and her love into these cheese blinters. So he did hataras nedarim, and he ate the cheese blinters. And after they got to know each other better, he took on the vow again. Understand this? Like we were learning in the Gemara next door today about tzedakah and so on. Like there's you gotta have there's four main sections of the Shulchan Aruch, right? The four books of the Shulchan Aruch. There's Orach Chaim, Orach, not Or, but Orach Chaim, the way of life, which covers all your obligations from the time you wake up in the morning till the time you go to sleep. And the laws of blessings, Birkat Hamazon, learning Torah, Then there's Yeridei, which is mostly about the laws of kashrus. Then there's Choshen Mishpat, which is business law, and Eben Ha'ezer, which is laws about marriage and divorce. But the world says that there also has to be a fifth Shulchan Aruch. And the fifth Shulchan Aruch is a little bit of common sense. Because you have to know common sense also. Like, and we learned this morning in the Gemara that concerning the mitzvah of tzedakah, right? So on the one hand, there's a mitzvah to help another person. On the other hand, it says you don't have to. You have to be careful that you shouldn't become a poor person yourself. Right? So technically, you could say, I'm not giving this money to tzedakah because I need it for myself, right? And how much do you need for yourself? Well, it's different for every person, right? So Rabbi Yehuda says that yes, technically you could say that you can find an excuse not to give tzedakah. But if you're always going to go and find that technical excuse not to give tzedakah, he says the end is going to be that you're going to have to ask people for tzedakah. You understand? There's got to be a fifth Shulchan Aruch also. You've got to have a sense of, like, when yes and when no. Right? There's got to be a time when you're going to be ready to give just about everything away, and there's got to be a time where you say, no, I can't give tzedakah now. Now's not the time. And somebody told a story about when he got married, he was in debt, a considerable amount of money, and he and his wife, they went to Rav Asveda, you know that name? He was the head of the best in Crown Heights, and he told him, he brought all the details, like, he owes this much, and he owes that much, and he owes that much, and he asked him, like, how much tzedakah should I be giving? And the Rav Paskin for him, he says, not only shouldn't you be giving, you're actually in a situation where we should be giving you tzedakah. Okay? But you need some guidance, you understand? There are times that he says there are situations where you can say, I'm not obligated according to halacha, but still there are times when you think you should go that way, and there are times when you've got to say, obligated or not, I'm giving tzedakah. Okay.
If you choose, someone asks for money and you decide you can't choose not to give or you can't give, What should you say to the other person there?
Well, you can say, I hope to help you another time. Okay, I'm not, or I'm sorry, I'm not able to help you right now. Understand? Because even when you're giving tzedakah, there's an aspect of how you're giving it. Are you giving it with a friendly place and so on? And if the person's asking for something and you say, listen, I would really like to help you, but I can't right now. You've given them something of yourself.
You need to say anything. Like if somebody has their hand up, you need to say.
No, but the Gemara says that basically, if you're giving it with a crunched up face, right? You're not doing them that much of a favor. And that if you, on the other hand, if you're giving tzedakah and you say a nice kind word, right? Because the person who's going around asking for money, their self-esteem is pretty fragile, right? So as much as so if you're giving the tzedakah with the attitude of, yeah, like, oh yeah, you're really a schlepper, you're a failure, I'm giving you tzedakah. So you're giving them money, but you're also making the person feel that they're a real failure. That's why giving a loan is actually considered to be a higher level of tzedakah than actually giving an outright gift. Because when you're giving a loan, then it's like saying to the person, I have confidence that you're going to get back on your feet.
It's almost forcing Hashem to provide to the person so they can do that.
Almost.
Is there a difference between giving stuff up and giving a gift?
What do you mean? What kind of gift?
Money.
No, a gift on what occasion? What?
Something like that.
Like a bar mitzvah present, a wedding present, what? A birthday present? What are you talking about?
I'm giving, there are people who are asking for money in the show.
Yeah.
So, and I'm starting to know a couple of them.
Yeah.
And so I give them more money than I give them 20 shekel, whereas everybody else I give 1 shekel or maybe 2. But these few people I've gotten to know quite well. I know some of their background or whatever. I don't always feel I'm giving them stuff. So I'm giving them a gift. Or there is no difference here, is there?
What you feel about the gift is probably that, the fact that you're giving this one more than somebody else, that's the gift aspect, but it's tzedakah. You're giving them tzedakah. The gift is your friendship, is your attitude, right?
Because these people I have to talk to.
Yeah.
Like, why are you, and they tell me. But those that I just give, stuff like that, I say,
Yeah.
how can I say it?
Yeah. Baruch Hashem. It's I have a relative in Montreal. He lives on this little block, and Baruch Hashem, on that little block, I know of, there's a few millionaires, and but he comes home from work, and his door is open. Whenever he's home, his door is open, and he sits there, and people know that you can come into this man, and he gladly will do what he can to help you. And he sits there and he writes checks every night, giving tzedakah. And you know that wealth is also a test. Some people are tested with poverty, and some people are tested with wealth. And the test of wealth is, so do you know what to do with your money, and do you know how to use it? Right? And everybody gets, Hashem tests everybody exactly the way they need to be tested so that they can manifest their highest self.
not to go off topic, but God knows the outcome, so I keep the test.
Oh, we learned about that yesterday. You were here when we learned that yesterday, but Nisayon?
Yeah.
So tell him. Western writers got test people. What did the Ramban say? The Ramban said that basically the Hashem gives you a test so that you can actualize your potential.
And that was the purpose of the test given to Avinu.
To actuate, because in potential, everybody's, you have the potential, but until you actualize it, it's just potential.
Does God really know the future? I'm asking the question because on the occasion, no. On the occasion,
It says, I hear your question. So it says, Ato Yodati. Hashem says to Avraham Avinu, now I know that you fear God, right? But Ato means now. Yodati,
I know.
no, I knew. So
Yodati means
it's past tense. So what's the pshat? Now I knew. And the pshat is, now I have proof for that which I've known. I knew that you fear God, but now you've actualized it. Now it's proof of that which I knew. Hashem knows the future. Hashem knows if how you're gonna do on the test. The test is for your benefit.
How do you say?
Now I know.
Now I know.
Achshav ani yodea. Yodea is present tense.
Yodati is
Past tense.
Yeah. I was racking my brains over it. Because I asked myself, if Godspeed knows everything, what's he saying?
Right.
This is your gift.
I've come a long way.
It's a big question.
I'm now questioning God's motives. Wow. I already wait to see what I'll be going to do. Right.
Okay.
I would have known 40 years ago what I know now.
Jesus. Have a good Tevach, a good week, a good day. See you tomorrow.
You have a time issue tomorrow?
Yeah, it was supposed to be today also. Were you here?
No,
I